Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, we're going to be doing something a little bit different this time around. So, I've done about 24 Zero to Hero runs where I've leveled as character and solo character found from level 1 all the way to 10 out of 10 Harbingers. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, hey Dread, I want a tier list of all these builds. Well, patch notes aren't out yet, but I'm bored, and I also want to see my feelings on these builds before and after patch notes. So this is going to be before patch notes. It's going to be a tier list of all of the Zero to Hero builds that I've played. We're going to go from S to F tier. We're going to talk about all of them. But I personally hate tier lists. I hate tier lists. I think they're dumb, they're stupid, and they're not good. Okay? Like they don't. So like they're just purely, and I mean purely for entertainment. So we're going to do this my way. So we're going to start off with F tier. I'm going to scroll up here. Now, this is F tier. Yeah, F tier is just, let me fix that real quick here. Sorry about that. One moment. I got to fix this. There. This is F tier. So these are the bottom of the bottom, the lowest of the low. Before we talk about F tier, I have actually went out of my way and I made I found a clip for every single tier about how I feel about these builds, and of course an associated image. So this is how I feel about these builds right now. This is how I feel about them.
私は生きてきた時間のほとんどを魔力を制限して過ごした。バカじゃないの？そうだね。バカみたいだ。でもお前たちに勝てる。私は500年以上生きた大魔族だ。お前の前にいるのは1000年以上生きた魔法使いだ。アウラ、自害しろ。
That's how I feel about these builds. They're very bad. Tempest Strike Shaman. So Tempest Strike Shaman was an okay video. It was okay. It was probably some of the worst shit I've ever dealt with ever. And it was the first Zero to Hero episode. So of course it has to be the worst, right? The problem? Damage. That's all it is. Damage. That's literally all it is. Just damage. That's sincerely the only problem. The clear? Look at that. It looks good, doesn't it? Single target damage. Awful. Other than that, it's a melee build. It's a melee shaman build that's dual wielding, so it's kind of squishy. But, you know, if it wasn't for the damage, it'd be fine. Also, as well, there's some bugs that are keeping it from being good. Like, for instance, there's targeting bugs with Gathering Storm. Let me put it like this. If Tempest Strike was actually good, this build would be good, pretty much. That's how I feel about this build. Cool. All right, we're on the same page. Static Sorcerer. Static Sorcerer, 3%. My problem with Static Sorcerer is the damage wasn't high enough for the amount of effort that I put into the build. For the amount of effort it takes to charge up your static all the way up to 200, it's not enough damage. Now, could you make it better with gear? Yes, but for this series, that is awful. I do not like builds that take a lot of effort to get the damage, and then of course the damage be bad. Surge itself has its own problems. It needs to be reworked. Lots of problems. Put it solidly in F tier. There are better sorcerer builds to be playing right now. Okay. Gathering Storm Fizz Beastmaster. So let's see here. So my problem with this build is simply put, it had good damage, good survivability, but the clear was so ungodly bad that I just quit it. I literally quit it. I didn't even finish the run because the clear on the build, like the actual clear, because the melee, clear on it was so bad that I just didn't enjoy it. Also, as well, there's you have to like maintain a lot of buffs. You have to maintain swipe. You have to like maintain maintain Warcry, maintain Maelstroms, maintain, Frenzy Totem. Overall, just not a very pleasurable build overall. If the clear was better, it'd be fine. But the clear is not good, so it was pretty much like this was when I was still experimenting with builds. Like you can see there, the damage was fine. It's just, I don't know. there's just so many things wrong with it that I just didn't end up enjoying it. Very cool in concept on paper, but in practice ended up feeling awful. Then, minions, just minions in general. So my problem with minions for the Zero to Hero series is I'm trying to go fast and I'm trying to finish the run fast. The problem with trying to do that is trying to drag minions with you is like just a psychotic experience. And remember, all of the runs that failed, I didn't put on this list. Like, I didn't talk about all the Necros that failed. I think I failed like 5 to 6 Necros of every single flavor and variety, mainly because, guess what? They all feel like shit when you're trying to go as fast as fucking possible, right? So they were zero, absolute zero. The worst builds, didn't even make a video. Didn't even make a video on all of them, and they were so bad. But if you don't care about speed, they're fine. There are other problems with them, but that's mainly how I feel. But that's F tier. Let's go up to B tier. I skipped C tier because like there's like four tiers is enough, right? So how do I feel about these builds? Well, they get the job done. Let's play the clip. Let's play the clip associated with it, shall we? We're playing the clip associated with it here. This is my feeling on this tier.
Honk shoo.
Hello?
Honk shoo. Me.
Hello?
Me. Honk shoo.
Honk Shua, sleep on that thing. That is how I feel about these builds. They're fun, they work, but they're not amazing. So, Ignite Warpath Paladin. It had decent damage, decent
Range.
survivability. It's decent all around. It is getting buffed next patch, and it will probably get planted in A tier after the buff. But for, of course, this tier, it was kind of just mediocre. Okay? Just kind of just mediocre. The damage was really high for what we were doing. The problem was the playstyle, of filling up your mana bar, yada, yada, yada. But once we get the Holy Aura, 50% more ignite damage, and of course, all the other buffs that are coming to Sentinel, that should probably make it feel a lot better. Also, as well, the auto casts on sigils will make this feel a lot better because then that's just less things you have to cast as you can get rid of other skills and stuff like that. So overall, just a mid-tier build. It's like the middle of mid-tier. Profane Veil Ignite. I'm not even going to waste my breath on this one. It's just worse than Bagel Lock. Just go play Bagel Lock. Gathering Storm EQ Shaman. This build has really good clear, really bad single target. This is the kind of build that I would take if I want to farm a bunch of favor and turn my brain off. Next patch, there's going to be a lot of ways of being able to farm, monoliths without actually interacting with bosses. And this is going to be one of those builds that I would build for that specifically, where I just turn my brain off, smack things with Earthquake, and move on with my life and farm favor. The damage isn't as high for, of course, the Gathering Storm procs. Now, of course, you could fix that by stacking more mana and using mana. There are ways of fixing this build, but they are outside of the scope of this video. Like, I want to make this build better. I have plans to make it better, but they are outside of the scope of this video. But for a fresh start, it is not something you want to be playing. Transform Avalanche. I'm not even going to waste my breath on this one. Just go play Transform Avalanche. If you really need to play Transformless, like, what are you doing? Just play Transform Avalanche. Spark Charge Spellblade. The biggest problem with this build was when I would clear with it, the single target DPS was good enough. The single target DPS, good enough. The clear was good enough. The biggest problem with this build was the fact that whenever I would clear monos, I felt a little squishy. And that's because generally this build wants to attack less than like other Spellblade builds when they're clearing and stuff like that. So you're not generating as much ward. But this would be immediately fixed if you want a Vessel of Strife setup. It would like immediately be fixed. But it's like solidly in B tier. Solidly in B tier. Transmit Lich. I'm not even gonna waste my breath on this one either. It's just bad. Just don't play this one. It's good enough, but like Lich needs a rework. Meteor Sorcerer. This one's a more interesting one. So this has everything going for it except for the fact that Meteor costs 5 bajillion mana. If Meteor didn't cost 5 bajillion mana, this would be a great build. Biggest problem, Meteor just costs way too much mana. Pretty much. That's really it. Also, being forced to use Arcane Ascendance in the end game feels like Giga AIDS, dude. Being forced to use Arcane Ascendance in the end game, Giga AIDS. Good mastery, bad skill, pretty much. All right, that is B tier. We are done with B tier. Let's scroll up and let's talk about A tier. Here we are, great builds, right? Very happy phase. Very much not like gets the job done in that, right? How do I feel about these builds? Well, it's very simply put. Very simply put. This is how I feel about them. Wait one moment.
Hey there. That ass looks so smooth, babe.
It works. They work. That's how I feel about them. So, first things off, Bleed Net Puncture. So, this was the original
Falconer
OG build.
finally
Like, this is the
decided
best build for a very
to do
long
this.
time in general for this series, mainly because of the ward when you create a shadow. It did get outclassed by other certain builds on the list after I played this one, but it was like one of the builds that actually made me actually enjoy playing Last Epoch for this series. The ward when you create shadow made you very tanky, and nets just feel really good for clear and for single target. Overall, just an overall good average build. Just overall, like the epitome of A tier, just really feels good. Like the survivability feels good. The ward when you create a shadow feels good. Overall, just a good enough build. Very all around better than B tier. Now, Erasing Strike VK. So right now, currently for Erasing Strike VK, the damage is really good. You do have to sustain your mana and stuff like that, but the damage is good. The problem is the clear is a little clunky because of the mana, but this would be fixed with mana sustain, like more better mana sustain and area on your gear and stuff like that. And also as well, it's melee. It's a melee build. Like, that's it. That's the problem with it, is a melee build. If it wasn't a melee build, it'd be fine, pretty much. Also, there's buffs coming next patch probably for it, so we'll see what happens there. Overall, good A tier. Might end up hitting S tier depending on the buffs. All right, Bleed Chaos Bolt Warlock. So this build would be an S tier, but there's only one problem keeping it from being an S tier. This part. You see my life? Now, of course, I'm actually super giga tanky. The video goes into why I'm actually super giga tanky. The biggest problem though is this, like when your HP is going up and down, it's anxiety inducing. But this was probably one of the tankier 0 to hero leveling runs I've done. And the clear was just chef's kiss, S tier, phenomenal, right? Absolutely amazing. Just absolute S tier clear. The biggest problem was utilizing Blood Tithe here. And of course, you know, this video goes into it of why it's really good. The problem is, of course, you're relying on Font of the Erased, and it's very anxiety inducing, definitely not hardcore viable, but it's a lot tankier than you think it is. Let me put it like that. It is a lot tankier than you think it is. But overall, good build. Just this part keeps it from S tier, but everything else is S tier in my opinion. Cool. Detonating Arrow, Explosive Trap, Mana Abusing Marksman. This build has everything except for the playstyle of having to constantly use Puncture for your mana. Other than having to constantly use Puncture for your mana, this is great. Lots of damage, lots of survivability thanks to the ward on hit stuff, which will probably get nerfed next patch considering everything else is getting nerfed, right? But this build is probably going to get nerfed into oblivion, so I wouldn't even like keep it on this list other than the fact for bookkeeping. Shadow Cascade, throwing damage, BD. So I went out of my way as a challenge to not play Shadow Daggers on this build. So if you just put in Shadow Daggers on your stuff, you put Shadow Daggers on like Umbral Blades and you put it on your Shadow Cascade, it just takes like 2 points to change. Amazing build, great build. Like, would have put it in S tier. Ward when you create a shadow feels really good. The clear feels really good. The damage feels really good. It was speedy the whole time. It was actually pretty tanky for being a rogue like this that's dual wielding. Overall, very good build. Just I did limit it by not running Shadow Daggers because Shadow Daggers might get nerfed. And also as well, I wanted to see how throwing crit felt like. And it feels great. And definitely put it in A tier. It would be an S tier if I clicked on the Shadow Dagger nodes. Cool. Fulgurite Lethal Mirage Blade Dancer. This has good enough damage, good enough survivability, good enough clear. My biggest problem is the build without Fulgurites is shit, and the clear is kind of mediocre. And like, for the amount of effort that you're doing, the damage isn't as high. It's crazy to say that I'm hitting 3 million damage per click, but it doesn't feel that good. And that's because of the fact that Harbingers have a lot of HP, mind you. Also, as well, it's because you have to do so much to get that much damage. Now, with better gear, this would be better, etc. But like every build could be like that, right? Overall, just decent A tier build, nothing too crazy. Overall, like if the playstyle was better, it'd be fine. So yeah, those are A tier builds. Pretty much builds that I could recommend, but aren't like amazing. Now, next tier, the Dread Approved section. This is how I feel about this. These are the S tier builds. How do I feel about this? This is how I feel about these builds right here. This is how I feel about these builds right here.
Plop, 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 plop. Get pregnant, get pregnant, get pregnant, get pregnant, get pregnant, get pregnant, get pregnant.
Highest marks, the best builds whatsoever. Absolutely amazing. I loved every single one of these. These are the builds that made me enjoy playing. So we're going to go off with the one. This one beat it out of the park. Bleed Hail of Arrows Marksman. This is by far the best zero to hero run I've ever done. Out of all 24, this was the best in terms of smoothness all the way through, in terms of requirements of gear, as all you need is a stupid quiver, which is really easy to get. It's very easy to get. You get to level with Umbral Blade's Bleed Puncture, which is like one of the best leveling specs in the game for me, at least personally. You get to play Bleed Hail of Arrows, which has insane single target, insane comfy clear. Like overall, just such a good build. Like the clear feels good, the tankiness feels good, the single target feels good overall, and it's also getting buffed because the only weakness of the build, damage over time from enemies, is getting nerfed into Oblivion next patch. So overall, everything about this build is going to be great next patch. Like absolutely amazing. Mwah, chef's kiss. Instantly Dread approved. The best zero to hero run out of every single option on this list in terms of playstyle, in terms of survivability, in terms of damage, in terms of speed, because it's got to empowered manas. I mean, this got to like 10 out of 10 Harbingers very quickly. So overall, very good build. Cannot ask for better. Now, Chthonic Fissure Warlock, Bagel Lock. This is number 2 on the list for the best builds. And that is because Bagel Lock just has a bajillion damage. It gets online very early thanks to Infernal Shade and Chthonic Fissure. Chthonic Fissure leveling is insane. Infernal Shade is insane as well. As you can see, lots and lots of ailments. The survivability is insane. It's getting nerfed next patch by the way a little bit, but Hybrid is still really strong. Just everything about this build, high marks, just slightly less good than the Bleed Hail of Arrows in terms of you have to sit there and right click on the boss, while with the Bleed Hail of Arrows Marksman, you just shoot a big fat load on their face, which is slightly superior. But the clear on this build is the best out of every single zero to hero run I've done. Out of all of them, this is the best clear, mainly because of Ghostmaker applying the the Infernal Shade on kill mechanic and having all those pop and stuff like that. Overall, beautiful. Just I want to make out with this build. Like plap, get pregnant exactly for this build. There is a bug causing it to be a little bit more annoying than it should, but overall, whatever, who cares? All right, Tornado Werebear. If you've been around me for a while, you'll know I have very high marks for this build. The damage is absurd. The tankiness is good enough. The play style is great because you just throw down tornadoes, swap into Werebear form. Don't have to worry about mana regen. Overall, just one of the best builds I've ever played ever. Just in every single mark. And it has insane end game potential in terms of the amount of DPS you can do. Just overall, it feels really good to be able to fire and forget your tornadoes, turn into Werebear form, run through monos, then kill bosses. Like, it feels amazing. The only problem is the play style is not for everyone. People don't like transform swapping. People abhor it for some reason, even though it's like one of the most strong mechanics in the entire game. So because of that, I'm putting it slightly below the other two builds on this list, but overall, just the damage is so ungodly high throughout every single portion of gameplay. Also, as well, I'm putting it lower than the other two on this list is because you have to level 1 through 20 as a primalist, which is a sin against humanity. So that's another reason why it's lower on this list. But other than that, finger looking good. All right, Devouring Orb VK. This one surprised me a lot. I was not expecting the damage on this build to be that good. The damage on this build ended up being a lot better, and that is mainly because of Devouring Orb having gigantic modifiers in it. So the only problem that I had with this build was the playstyle was a little annoying because I'm constantly like casting Devouring Orb, smites, and all that. But thankfully, because next patch, and I'm not a non-Malaka user, by the way, but like, so they're making it so that Orbit Devouring Orb has a node after Orbit Devouring Orb where you can auto cast Devouring Orbs for you. So as long as you're moving around and stuff, this makes your clear feel a lot better. The single target's great. Just everything about it, like the vitality stacking feels really good. I was questioning it in the beginning, but then like I ended up like seeing how much damage it was dealing. I realized it. I was like, yeah, no, this build feels great. Like overall, this build feels great. Overall, just feels great, but it's at the bottom mainly because it's waiting for the buffs. It was definitely a lot to get going in terms of gearing. You need like a rune dagger and a catalyst before you feel really good about the build, but you can like get away with using a staff for the whole time and all that. Overall though, definitely the bottom of S tier, but it is still an S tier. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this build specifically here. And that's how I feel about the Zero to Hero. This will be in the link in the description. That's my experience with it. I'm playing one more, I believe. I'm playing Flameburst Warpath. That will probably end up being here, by the way, for Flameburst Warpath. But, or might be here. The damage seems to be pretty good. I still have to finish it. I'm in the middle of it. This video is like me in the middle of doing it. I stopped playing it just so I can make this video. But yeah, that's my opinions on the tier list. That's my opinions on everything. Of course, this is my subjective tier list, and if you disagree, fuck off. With that being said, this has been Tread. Off to go do something else. Bye.